So, on to assembling this. Now normally, with most kits and electronic projects, you start with the resistors and the diodes because they're such small physically components. But in this one, there are no resistors and there are no conventional diodes, only LEDs. So we're going to start with probably the lowest profile, namely the socket for the chip. And because in the postage this has got a bit mangled, we can sometimes have a bit of an issue with trying to get all the pins in the right holes. And some of them want to just raise themselves up a little bit, because these are very cheap sockets. Now you will notice on this that I have actually put this socket in the wrong way around. There is the little notch in the socket and the little notch in the circuit board, so I'm going to swap that around. Yeah. Just tin on. That cool, and then we can see that looks like it's all in place. Now, next we can really take our pick of components to go in next. If I bring over this one that I made earlier, you can see that actually the height of most of the components is roughly about the same. Possibly the little switch is the next tallest component, so we shall put the little tactile switch in next. They're real fiddly because they come with these sort of snap legs that are bent so as to facilitate them snapping in place and self-gripping. But sometimes just trying to get them in, they don't want to snap into place. Being a bit naughty here, I should really check after the first joint to see if it's gone in okay. But on this one, it fairly firmly snapped into place. That was alright. So now it's on to our LEDs. And remember what I said, in this particular kit they're providing some LEDs that are, well, I'm guessing that they must have been surplus because they had the flat on the wrong side. But the LEDs actually can be identified in this case with the longer lead, or by the longer lead being the positive or the anode. It's easy to remember which is positive and negative with LEDs. The current flows the same way as the alphabet, A to C or A to K, depending on whether you pronounce cathode with an A or with a C or with a K. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put in a row of these and then solder them up. So now we can just solder up just one pin on each of these LEDs, and then we can just double check that we've got the alignment all right. They all look bang on. Our first row of LEDs done. So, cue the music and let's keep going. So you can see here I've got a couple that are a bit too tall and not quite sat down. So the easy solution to that is, because we've only done soldered one leg, is that you just apply pressure from the back, like with your thumb, and then reflow those joints. And those will push back up. Of course, if you've soldered both leads in, it's a bit more difficult trying to heat both leads up in order to get them into place. But now we know those are all okay, we can go ahead and do our second row of soldering. So, on with the next row. I'm actually going to start at the other end now, just so it'll balance things up a little bit better. there we have it. All the LEDs in, and mostly all at the same height. There's a few that were slightly raised up. I'm not going to fuss over them. So now we can fit our other little switch, our little on-off switch. These outer pins take a wee bit more heat because they're just soldering the case. There's like a mechanical connection rather than an electrical. Well, that's gone very well. So next I've just got to go and find myself a little USB lead that I can butcher, and then we can solder in the power to this. One moment please. So I found just a little USB lead. I can nip the end off. On our circuit board. They helpfully haven't actually said which is positive and which is negative, but according to the wiring diagram, they switch the positive of VCC S1 there. So the positive goes to the switch. So we can see that this track here goes to the switch. So that must be positive. Well, that's what we're going to assume anyway. Positive to the back. Positive to this top one, which goes to the switch. That's okay. So now we can stick our little microcontroller in, this time observing the pin 1 designation, the little slot. There we go, it goes in a bit easier. Right, I guess it's going to be the moment of truth. Get all these fragments out the way. Bring in USB power bank. That's that plugged in, and then switch on. Hey! It lives. so there you have it. A very easy little kit to put together. Okay, there's a lot of LEDs to solder in. You can do the soldering of the LEDs individually. If you're not so experienced at soldering, that's probably a good idea. But there's quite a few in this, so you may find that you start off individually but then move on to groups as you gain more confidence and experience. Just one thing to note, because you're soldering these LEDs right onto the board, so close, be careful not to dwell too long on each leg when you're soldering them, as you can damage them or shorten their life at the very least if they get too overheated from the soldering process. So we hope this has been useful to you, that if you want to build these yourself, you'll find a link in the description for the kits. They're very reasonable and it's just a bit of fun. What I might do is make up a little 3D printed stand for these, and if I do that, I'll also put that down in the description as well. But many thanks for watching, and we'll see you the next time.